All right, welcome to this explainer, everyone. If you're a beginner help desk learner gearing up for your CompTIA A Core 1 exam, you are in exactly the right place. I am absolutely thrilled to guide you through this fast-paced bootcamp today. We're taking some pretty complex hardware topics and making them simple, visual, and super practical. So grab your notepad because we're going to cover everything you need to know about cables, displays, and printers to not only pass your exam, but to completely crush your real-world IT tickets. Let's quickly look at our roadmap for today. We'll start off with a Cables and Connectors Bootcamp, then move into Mastering Displays and Video. After that, we'll be demystifying printer technologies, running through the top 30 exam facts, and finally, we'll finish up with a practice exam lightning quiz. Okay, Section 1, Cables and Connectors Bootcamp. Think of this as the nervous system of your hardware. You're going to be plugging and unplugging these peripheral cables every single day, and comparing them side by side reveals some really easy exam clues. USB is your universal standard, right? Just don't fall for the trap of mixing up micro and mini USB. Then you have Apple's proprietary 8-pin lightning connector. But for the exam, you really got to remember Thunderbolt 3. It's an absolute speed beast. It uses a USB-C shape but hits a massive 40 gigabits per second. A great memory trick? Just remember, Thunder is 40 times louder. When you look at these in the real world, notice how USB-C and lightning connectors are completely oval and reversible. There is literally no fumbling behind a dark desk to plug them in. Contrast that with the older micro USB, which has that really distinct flat bottom and angled top. You have to get it right the first time. Now, what about video? The crucial point you absolutely have to know is the difference between digital and analog connections. HDMI and DisplayPort are your modern heroes. They're digital, and importantly, they carry both video and sound. On the flip side, older standards like the 15-pin VGA are analog only. They absolutely do not carry audio. And DVI kind of sits in the middle, offering both digital and analog varieties, but again, no sound. If you peek behind a standard workstation, you'll see this exact layout. Spot those 15 pins grouped into 3 rows? That is your blue VGA port. See the grid-like pin layout right next to it? That's DVI. And pay special attention to DisplayPort. Notice that one asymmetrical, squared-off corner. That is your biggest visual clue to tell it apart from HDMI. Let's dive inside the computer and across the network. For the exam, counting pins is literally going to save you. Look at SATA for hard drives. It uses a tiny 7-pin cable for data, but a much wider 15-pin cable for power. Do not mix those up. Also, lock in the fact that standard Ethernet uses an 8-pin RJ45 connector, whereas fiber optic cables don't use electricity at all. They transmit data using flashes of light or photons. Let's put this into a real-world help desk scenario. Picture this. A frantic user needs help connecting their laptop to a meeting room TV for a presentation starting in 2 minutes. These are the exact steps you take. You check the ports, you choose HDMI so you get both video and audio in one cable, and then use the display toggle on their keyboard, usually a function key combination, to either extend or duplicate their screen. Boom, ticket closed. Moving right along to Section 2, Mastering Displays and Video. Basically, what you see is what you get tested on. Let's talk about how these screens actually create an image, because there's a huge contrast here. Standard LCD screens absolutely require a separate backlight to push light through the liquid crystals. But OLED screens, they use organic compounds that light up all on their own. Because they don't need a backlight, OLEDs can just turn off individual pixels to achieve true deep black colors. Now, a massive help desk ticket you'll see is a user complaining about a fuzzy screen. You must understand native resolution. That is the physical maximum number of pixels on the screen. Reverting to native resolution is the secret fix for a distorted image. Also, be aware of the refresh rate. That's how many times the screen paints per second, like 60 or 144 Hz to keep video perfectly smooth. Okay, here's another practical scenario. A user calls about a training room projector showing no display. Methodically step through this. Check the projector's on-screen display to ensure it's looking at the right input, like HDMI instead of VGA. If the screen is flickering, inspect the physical cables for loose connections first. If it's completely dark, well, you're likely dealing with a burned-out bulb that just needs replacing. Let's jump into Section 3, Demystifying Printer Technologies. From lasers to liquid ink. Printers are a heavy-hitter topic on the A+ exam. The easiest way to learn this is mapping the consumable, the stuff that runs out, to the specific printer type. Laser printers use dry powder called toner. Inkjet printers use liquid ink cartridges. Thermal printers don't use ink at all. They literally use specially coated, heat-sensitive paper. Impact printers use a physical ribbon, kind of like an old-school typewriter. And 3D printers use plastic filament or resin to build physical objects layer by layer. When you look inside a laser printer, it's basically a mini factory, and you will get tested on it. Memorize the large print drum in the center. It's highly photosensitive and uses static electricity to attract the toner. Then follow the paper path down to those 2 rollers. That is the fuser assembly, which uses extreme pressure and 400-degree heat to melt the toner permanently onto the page. When you're doing routine maintenance, remember that a standard maintenance kit contains a new fuser and pickup rollers. Those are the main culprits for those dreaded paper jams. Also, if you replace an inkjet printhead, you always have to run a printer calibration so the colors align properly. And if a user simply can't print, don't overthink it. Check the basics first. Is it even online and connected to the network? All right, get your screenshot fingers ready. Section 4, Top 30 Exam Facts. This is your ultimate study guide. Feel free to pause here if you need to. Notice how the exam loves testing specific speeds. USB 2.0 is 480 megabits. USB 3.0 jumps to 5 gigabits, and Thunderbolt 3 absolutely crushes it at 40 gigabits. Also, lock in that VGA is 15 pins and strictly analog, while fiber optic cables transmit data using photons of light instead of electricity. Continuing on, remember your SATA pins, don't swap them. 7 for data, 15 for power. For displays, OLED means true black because there's zero backlight, while IPS panels offer far better colors and viewing angles than those older TN panels. And finally, always fix distorted screens by reverting to the native resolution. And rounding out our top facts, if a laser printer is smudging toner, that fuser isn't getting hot enough. If you hear a loud, screeching printer using a ribbon, you've got an impact printer. And if you need paper to print on both sides automatically, you need a functioning duplexing assembly. Okay, you've absorbed the knowledge. Now let's test it. Section 5, Practice Exam Lightning Quiz. Let's see what you've got. Think fast. Question 1. That 15-pin connector is the VGA cable carrying older analog video. Question 2. The display with no backlight is OLED because those organic compounds generate their own light. Question 3. The part burning toner to the paper is the fuser assembly. And question 4. Thunderbolt 3 hits a massive 40 gigabits per second using a reversible USB-C physical port. Keep it going. Question 5. A thermal printer relies on a heating element and thermal paper, creating text through heat, not wet ink. Question 6. For a distorted software image, revert the display to native resolution so it matches the physical pixel count. And question 7. For a flickering screen, always check for a loose physical cable first before digging into crazy software settings. Let's bring it home. Question 8. The internal drive cable is SATA with its 7-pin data and 15-pin power setup. Question 9. Apple's older proprietary cable is the 8-pin lightning connector. And question 10. 3D printers build items using plastic filament or resin. So, how did you do? With hardware standards evolving faster than ever, it makes you wonder, will physical ports even exist in 10 years, or will the help desk of the future be entirely wireless? Keep studying, keep troubleshooting, and I'll see you in the next explainer.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and give it a thumbs up. Good luck with your CompTIA A Core 1 exam.